Welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast with your host, Chris Anderson. In this show, Chris and his guests will share their knowledge and experience on how to go from zero to successful entrepreneur. They have built their businesses from scratch and are now ready to give back to those who are just starting. Let's get ready to learn, grow, and elevate our businesses. And now, your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. And you've heard us talk before about getting in media, standing out, PR, marketing, all these things. We're going to kind of hone in a little bit today on the conversation. So if you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I get online or how do I get on my podcast and build a persona, build something that's true to me, but stands out? Well, this episode's for you. So we brought in an expert who does just this. He helps authors, speakers, and B2B consultants build $50K per month businesses in 90 days or less, leveraging media and building their persona online and for on TV and on radio. So we're super excited to have Mitch Carson on the show today. Mitch, welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my privilege to be here, and I will do my best to impart the wisdom that I possess during my time working in media, big media, small media, intermediate media.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you and chat about that. So what is, just to dive right into it, because we're in the podcast forum, right? This is a kind of newer, I guess we could say we're, teen years of podcasting has been around a little bit. What did you think of podcasting when it first came out? Because, you've been in radio and TV and things of that nature. So what was that like for you to see the podcasting platform start to build and grow?
Here's what's interesting. I wrote the very first book on podcasting that never went to publication. I used it. It was a spiral bound guide when it was a new technology 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It's before it exploded.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows what podcasting is. Essentially recorded radio that you get to consume when you want. Mm-hmm. That's the way I would describe podcasting. They're interviews, radio interviews that are remote. In most cases, they're seldom in person, which is nice, but radio now is also remote and in person. Because I used to be a radio show host quite a few years ago on 97.1, which is CBS Radio in Los Angeles. Nice. And I had an hour-long show on Saturday afternoons. One of the things I learned when podcasting came around, slow to take off. Mm-hmm. People didn't understand it. And, series came around and, Howard Stern he got picked up to go with series and it just didn't grow. And it hit a lull. The early adopters grabbed on, did it for a little bit, but nobody could make any money. It was more of a labor of love.
Yep.
Today, some people are able to monetize it. In the case for you, I don't know what you do. You might have sponsors. You might use the opportunity to make connections and reach out to people that normally would have a closed door.
Yep.
Today, it has completely improved and morphed into something credible. Mm. There are a lot of excellent podcast hosts today. I was shocked how good they are versus years ago when I got interviewed on a couple of them. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. The sound wasn't right. The lighting wasn't right. Oh, it was just audio. So the sound, it was only sound.
Yep.
Then it evolved from going into video podcasting. And I had a show on CNN Philippines when I was living in Asia a few years back. And I did a lot of TV and radio interviews while I was in that country. And they were before America. Radio shows, standard terrestrial radio shows, started broadcasting, simulcasting with Facebook Live for these radio shows. So the lines were blurred between television and radio.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, radio stations were nipping at the heels of well-established TV shows because they're able to deliver similar content in the talk show format, obviously not for drama and movies,
yeah,
but for talk shows, radio automatically was stepping on the toes of television. And it was easy, fast, and for no money. Facebook was free.
Yep.
So they got to be delivered this content through their phones, because everybody has an appendage called a hand, and in that hand is a phone.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the world today. So this is their mobile communication device, and they're watching a radio show which used to just be limited to audio, to now they have Facebook Live, and now they have captions that are in there live, all these little improvements. So where it was, what was a true podcast, which was radio recorded, became audio only. Then it includes now all these other deliverable platforms like StreamYard, which is, I believe, which we're on now. We're on StreamYard.
Yeah. Yep.
You have all these, you have Restream, StreamYard, you have Riverside, yada, yada. I'm sure there are many more that I'm missing. And Zoom, very basic. People are using that, which did not exist years ago. It's gotten better, and more credible. I think it's also shaking out the people that aren't good at as hosts. Because they either burn out when they realize, I'm not making any money, and all I'm doing is sinking money into editors and uploading, maybe software fees. I'm paying StreamYard X amount of dollars a month or this.
Yeah.
And they look at it and think, wow, Marge is getting on my case because she needs a new washing machine. I'm sounding very primitive with this, but it's for humor. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Where's the return on investment?
Yep.
I believe that's where some of the challenges have been. You probably know, or most likely know more about that than I do, being a seasoned podcast host. It's like, where do people make money with this?
Yeah. And that's one of the issues we've seen, with a lot of our clients is, the ROI of it. And it's teaching them and educating them, like the ROI is the value you bring to your audience to help grow, to help more people, which in obviously they all have something they're selling, which will bring more eyes to it. Or like you mentioned earlier, opening the door to have relationships built with future clients or future partners or future, opportunities that you wouldn't have had if you didn't have the show to open that door in the first place. So, we're working on some sponsors right now, actually, with the show, but we haven't had any. And it's just been really for us, relationship building, value add for our audience, for the market. But, it has brought clients through just, again, opening that door. So I think it's a great platform and continuing to grow. And a lot of people they don't see the long-term game. And so they burn out or they stop because they don't see the benefit of doing it.
Well, yeah, there's that. And it's a negative. It's an expense for X amount of months until you get to a certain number of downloads and realize that credibility. So it's an investment. And I think that was what people don't realize when they start. It's time and money.
Yeah.
But if it opens certain doors, who knows? Maybe you and I can conduct business later where you make money because of meeting me and vice versa. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think you have to throw in a lot of mud at the walls.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I've grown a lot with the podcast, like from when I first started, where I was as an interviewer to where I am now, same with the setup and everything like that. Like it's all grown and improved. And, I'd like to say I'm somewhat personable, but, as you're building something like this, obviously, as on TV and radio, you have to have some sort of personality to draw people in, right? That's kind of the crucial piece because people aren't there with you. They don't necessarily see all your mannerisms all the time. So like, would you say that's a big part of having a successful show, whether that be radio or TV, is your persona, your personality that you put out there?
Yes. And here's what I find interesting. There's a match for everyone.
Yep.
Meaning an audience for everyone. Let's say you and I, hypothetically, are equally handsome, same age, same level of education. Your personality is a little bit different than mine, but we're in the same space. We're in the exact same space, assuming this. Some people will follow and resonate with me, and it's pure chemistry and connection.
Yep.
Some will go with you. because of chemistry and connection. You happen to play high school football. I played volleyball.
Yep.
The volleyball players are going to resonate with me. Football players are going to resonate with you. Both can coexist.
Yep.
Both can exist and collaborate versus compete. Now, there might be some competitiveness there.
Sure.
That's the beauty of having your own show.
Yeah.
We could be so close. We could even be twin brothers. But you
Yep.
played football, I played volleyball. You're going to get the football players, and you married a blonde, I married a brunette, and I'm going to get all the brunette wives.
Sure. Yeah.
You see, there's room for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Whoever markets, and if the personalities are equal, that was the other thing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You can even be slightly more handsome than me. I'll give you that. But the personalities are equal, but different.
Yeah.
You know, we share the same denominator of being podcast hosts who have the same equipment. I don't know what microphone you're using. I bought the Shure at the recent show,
Yeah.
and I use this one. All of the denominator can be the same. Above the line, the numerator, we're all a little bit different.
Yep.
And we're going to attract our own tribe accordingly. Same holds true. I mean, you think of the TV big shots.
Yep.
Oprah was the big one for years. Now it's Ellen.
Yep.
I think she's the big one. People either like her or they don't.
Right.
And there are other talk show hosts of that magnitude out there. I don't know them all. I don't watch those shows that often, but people are diehards and love Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that will love Judy or whomever else is out there. And that the space is open. Answering your question, it's personality driven 100%.
Do you think someone who has, maybe they're super dry and super, in our eyes, maybe boring, quote unquote. Again, I guess it's the eye of the beholder, right? Someone who I think is boring, someone else might not. But if someone's like monotone, no fluctuation of voice, very dry, straightforward, do you think they could still have a good audience without having, a bigger, personality?
There was a guy that we used to host a show on Sunday nights in Los Angeles, where I originally come from, on 106.7. It was called KROQ FM. His name was Rodney Bingenheimer. He had a tremendous following. He had the driest personality in the world. I would rather watch paint dry than listen to him talk.
Okay.
He said, our next song is with Led Zeppelin, and this is from Jimmy Page. He would talk like that, monotone, no inflection, no excitement. He had a huge following. The nerds followed him, loved his personality. That was his style. I used to see him at the nightclubs. This is when I was in my teens. I don't even know where he is today. He could be with us, maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, Rodney Bingenheimer from KROQ, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. But I would see him at the clubs. He stood out. He had long hair, small guy in stature, very nice fellow.
Yeah.
But he would give you one-word answers. Boring, like you described.
Yeah.
Didn't have what you would look at as the classic talk show host with a lot of enthusiasm and bubbly and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
But people followed him who maybe were like him.
Gotcha.
So there's an audience for every guru, for every leader, every host.
Okay.
There is an audience. Who follows you, Chris? May I ask?
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for listening, guys. I would think people probably are close to me as an individual, I guess. Maybe someone who likes someone who's a little bit more reserved. I'm not, a Pat McAfee here in Indy. He's used to be a kicker for the Colts, big personality. I'm just not that way. So, but I shoot it straight and I try to help how I can. So hopefully people who resonate with that are listening, and I appreciate everybody out there who is listening. So,
sure. But they're going to be within a certain age group also.
Yeah,
Quite
most likely.
possibly. Whereas I'm 64 years old. Today's my birthday. Yay, yay.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm of the baby boomer generation.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stories and metaphors that I might use in presenting and talking are going to ring true with my age group. Mm. You will understand, obviously, but you're a bit younger. There's an age gap, and it does matter with who is going to relate to me versus relate to you, and vice versa.
So do you think, yeah, and that is good reality to think on, because we don't want to try to fake it. We don't want to fake being a person we're not. I mean, you probably could. Actors do it in movies, but to do it continuously would be hard. So like, my mind goes to Ryan Reynolds. So if you know Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, like his personality is pretty much, I feel like, what he plays in every movie. Like, I think they're so similar. So he doesn't have to act a whole lot, which is great for him. But he leans into that. He just kind of leans into those are his strengths and how he projects things and how he talks and how he acts. And it just has fit perfectly with those roles. So you say that's a more important thing, not trying to find a persona and become it, but figure out what your persona is and just elevate that. Like what you're.
I would leverage who you are. First, here are a couple things. When people ask me, one of my deliverables, I help people ideate and write their books and then publish them and then put them into a bestseller status. It's one of my workshops I conduct. And I'm not pitching that. Just the process I'm going to share for how we do that is, number one, what are you passionate about? Okay. What do you like? Would you like to do? We've heard the adage, get out of bed anxious. Well, what are you passionate about? You don't have to be so anxious every day. Some days you're not. And what do you have knowledge about? What do you have a working vocabulary, vernacular related to your category? Do you understand? If you come from an accounting background and only worked in debits and credits and payroll and AP, and you try to run a podcast on sales, you couldn't have a more different discipline.
Sure.
Both are necessary to run companies, but you're not really qualified to talk about sales because you've only tattled on the salesperson from spending too much on his expense report.
Right.
I mean, that's not your expertise. Your expertise is numbers. You're a pencil pusher, and that is what you have chosen to do. And we need everybody.
Yep.
Salesperson, alternatively, how do you get a salesperson all of a sudden become a very precise accountant? Difficult. Why push somebody into creating their own podcast on accounting if they're a top tier salesperson that loves and gets their jollies out of closing a deal? I would die in accounting. I'm a salesman and I'm proud to say it.
Yeah.
Used cars, new cars, yet to be released cars. I don't care. I don't sell cars. I did in college. I did that. I'm comfortable in that. I can talk about sales. I can talk about marketing. Once you get into other disciplines, I don't know what your background is, Chris. Are you more? I would suspect you're probably more sales and marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I used to be an athletic trainer, which is completely.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people, talking, building relationships, that process when something goes wrong, making it right and navigating.
But you're helping people.
Yeah.
You have to connect.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to connect as an accountant.
Right.
It's not a big stretch for you to do what you're doing today or with other guests.
Yeah.
You are a human connector because if you're telling people one more rep, come on, push, buddy, do one more in your past life, or maybe you're still doing it, I don't know. You have to connect with that person if you want to get rehired for the next round of personal training sessions or whatever it is. And you are selling and marketing yourself, because if you are a fat blubber of 30% body fat, it would be pretty hard for you to market yourself as a trainer versus 15, 16% or lower, depending on what you're eating that week.
Yeah.
It's easier to get booked. So you have to act the part, be the part, be enthusiastic about the part, and be able to share about it because of your working knowledge. And I think that's what those elements are, what are required in order to dominate and control a niche.
Yeah. And I think that's, people forget that. Like they see these big, really successful people and they see their personalities and they say, oh, I'm not loud. I'm not boisterous. I'm not bold like that. So I'm never going to get to that level. Whereas you're obviously showing that it can happen no matter what you are. You just have to lean into that personality and just really, really highlight, your strengths and what you're good at. and build an audience who resonates with that. So I think sometimes we forget that we can be ourselves and still be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to fake it, not a good idea.
Right.
However, if you want to talk about, let's just say you are a trainer expert. So you probably know a lot about exercise. You can talk about keto diets. You can talk about the Atkins diet, which of course is very important to understand these different intermittent fasting, which I'm currently undergoing.
Nice.
Because I'm doing that because I gained a little bit and I need to cut down. So that's the easiest one I found for me.
Yeah.
If we were to have a joint podcast, let's assume I knew marketing real well. It would be a co-hosted podcast. But when I got into, I don't have your knowledge about those categories.
Sure.
I'm not licensed by NASM or any of the others. I know that NASM used to be a client when they first started, as a matter of fact, for several years. If we were to talk about personal fitness, I know about fitness as a practitioner, but not credentialed. So if I were to start a podcast about that category, I would embrace somebody like you to be my co-host.
Right.
I would leverage your ability, and I have a big mouth. So talking about anything is easy for me.
Sure.
I came out of my mother talking. That's what she told me. She said I was the loudest baby in the hospital. So it's not a challenge.
Yeah. And I think that's good. Again, it's like leaning into who you are and just building on those. And, I kind of see it as like the world is a big jigsaw puzzle, right? And we're each our own unique piece that makes the thing beautiful. And so if we're trying to, be someone else or, pretend to be a certain way, we're trying to shove a piece where it doesn't fit.
Right.
And so like finding that and just kind of owning it and just being true to yourself is crucial. And I think that's going to say a lot if you can do that, especially when you're meeting people and they see like that's literally just who you are. Like you're a good person. You're super educated. You're super intellectual. You're super, bold. Maybe you are bold. Maybe you are boisterous. Maybe you are super confident, whatever that is. And they see, hey, that's truly them. That trust is going to be built there because they can rely on you to be who you are, and they know who they can go to if they need someone of that kind of metric.
Sure, makes sense. And
go ahead.
I was going to say, when are we going to start our podcast on fitness over 60? All right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think again, like what you just kind of were talking about there is, if you are who you are, and people start seeing that, it's going to open up opportunities for people who are looking for that type of person.
Yes.
Now, have you found for TV, let's say, again, I'm going to assume, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is most TV hosts that you see have a certain trait about them? Are most TV hosts, they're looking for someone who's outgoing, boisterous, or is it, again, it depends on the show, I'm assuming?
Depends on the theme of the show.
Okay.
Television, radio, they all have different themes.
Okay.
If I'm talking, I had a show on CBS radio, which was the Mortgage Hour. I was the host for a client. He had a technical background, in terms of understanding mortgage rates and forecasting. He did not have a personality that went up and down. He did not know how to use the microphone or punctuate well. He was technical and good.
Sure.
My job was to be the boisterous one and say, great, do a little bit of that. And sometimes I was serious.
Yep.
It depends on the market. If you're talking about comedy and you have a show all about comedic relief, you better be entertaining, Buster.
Right.
But if you're talking about mortgage rates or trends in the marketplace from an economics perspective, to be a little bit monotone, yet speaking very clearly, is expected of you. I don't think people, when they're talking about their money, want comedic input.
Yeah.
They're serious. This is about little Joey's preschool money.
Right.
Okay. Or Peggy's college money that is going to, who are you listening to? What mutual funds should I invest in? You want a Dave Ramsey type. He's prolific. He's great. Susie Orman, she's upbeat on television, yet very knowledgeable. She doesn't crack jokes.
Yeah.
Serious gal. Her personality is there, but it's a serious one.
So do you think with that, like if someone is like, okay, I think they have an idea to, try to make it in TV for something, maybe it's a host, maybe it's their own show, something of that nature. But is there still room for it, I guess, like individuals who are around my age, is there still room for people to get in TV, or should they stick to, just creating their own now that they have the accessibility on YouTube and social media? Do you think
for
it's worth
your age group? I'm going to say television probably wouldn't make sense.
Okay. Yeah.
To have your own show.
Sure.
What is valuable about TV is if you want to boost your credentials and show logos, you've been interviewed on ABC, NBC, Fox, and the CW, all these different networks would increase your value. Yeah. But for you to market yourself and have your own TV show, my gut reaction, and it would say, okay, let me research, probably not your demographic.
Yeah.
For a guy your age, people that are going to resonate and connect with you of your similar age, you're not going to find them on TV.
Yeah. No, and that's kind of, we kind of, or I've thought about it, the same thing is, you could create like Logan Paul, for example, or Mr. Beast. Like they created basically kind of their own TV, episodes on their YouTube
Mr.
stuff.
Beast is huge.
Yeah, exactly. And so like kind of using it in that way. Now you did say something there that's interesting is, being interviewed on those like, top channels or things like that. Yeah. That obviously would be great for marketability and to show, authority in the market and things. Is there a good process people need to go or is it just who we know to be able to get on those shows and be interviewed about, our expertise?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Yeah. What does Mitch do in his day job? Yeah. I am a publicist here in Las Vegas, where if people want that as part of their peacock feathers, I'm talking about, you're peacocking in life, about your credibility, maybe interviewed on Forbes. You might have an article there, or Entrepreneur Press. These are all high credential, valued sources. And then if you had a logo of ABC television, real TV, not submitting a press release to those are all bullshit.
Yeah.
This is real credibility on live TV, getting interviewed by a true professional newscaster.
Yep.
Or a show host. That's valuable for your age group to show for credibility. Mm-hmm. That would be the way I would suggest for my clients. I've got some people coming out here, they're in their 20s from Canada.
Awesome.
Next month, who are going to get on 4 TV shows here in Las Vegas. I've secured it all for them, crafting them. They're in their 20s.
That's
Canadian
awesome.
Guys. They're coming in from Toronto. They want the credentials of being on TV in America, which will open the doors for them, for the people who have money. Because who has the money in America? Who has the money in Canada? My age group, not yours.
Right.
And it's not to point the finger. You will get here.
Right. Yeah.
It's a process in most cases, unless you're Marky Zuckerberg when you were right out of college, or Bill Gates. Those are rare exceptions. But most of those people that are now in their 50s and 60s, they grew up with TV. So if they see that you got interviewed on Elevate Media Group podcast, they're going to say, great. And they look at your copy and you're professional, you got a nice background, they're going to say, great.
Yep.
Then they've been interviewed on Fox TV. Those support each other and help.
Yeah.
You are not only limited to one platform, you're a multi-platform interviewed expert.
Yep.
Who's also written a book, who's also been on, CBS TV. You've also been on radio, terrestrial radio, live radio in a studio. That's irrefutable proof. You must know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think it all adds.
Yeah. And so if, thinking, the audience, okay, I probably, maybe I don't have enough to work with Mitch, or maybe, Because a lot of the ones listening are just starting their business. They're trying to get things figured out. Maybe they've had some success. So how can they start that process of trying to make it on these different in publications, on shows to be interviewed, if they're doing it kind of on their own? How do they start building those relationships to be asked to come on?
On TV, I think a series of podcasts would be a good start.
Yeah.
Video podcasts, not audio only.
Mm-hmm.
A producer, let me share with you the mindset of a producer.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Is they're there to save their butts. Okay, number one, they want job security.
Yep.
They are unwilling to risk you being an unproven asset.
Right.
Unless you've got a product or service that is so revolutionary that they must have you, and they're all clamoring to want to have you on their show. They're all going to be sending out people, get him, get him, get him.
Yeah.
So the media booker who works under the producer will be searching for Christopher because you came up with a widget of some sort.
Yeah.
Well, that's an exception. That's an exception. But if you've been interviewed already on a multitude of video podcasts like the one we're doing today,
yep,
and they can look at you and say, okay, even though it's recorded, he looks great on camera. He clearly knows how to articulate his points, speaks in precise sound bites. Let's give him a shot.
Gotcha.
Versus somebody that's completely unknown, only has a blog on his website, and there are misspellings. There's no way to assess whether this person will be effective and be well received for the audience, because the show producer's sole job is, one, job security.
Yeah.
They don't want to get fired. Number two, they want to find the right guest for the right audience. That's their job. But remember what I said first.
Yeah.
They don't want to get fired.
Right.
They want to maintain their paycheck because little Julie, wants a new car.
Yeah.
Or what have you. So they're saving themselves first. Second is they're looking out for their audience, and they have to optimize the right guests to connect with the audience, because that reflects in advertising. And it's all about the money. It's metrics, man.
Yeah.
Television is filled with metrics. It's a much more mature platform than podcasting.
Right.
Podcasting has grown. There's so many more metrics available today and ways of analyzing your show. When are they dropping off? When are they entering? Is my intro too long? Is my outro too long? Should I or should I not have a commercial break? All of these things matter today, where in the beginning it was simply a cheap alternative to radio.
Right. And I think those are good things to think about too. And I think it's just like us with, Elevate Media Group, our video productions, the things we've done, the work we've completed for clients, the results that those videos have gotten, that's kind of like our social proof. Like, we can push that out there. We can show others like, hey, we know what we're doing. This works.
Sure.
And it almost kind of sells itself for the most part. And it's the same thing as us as individuals, like, show yourself, like, doing these things, speaking on camera, having a conversation about the topic that you are passionate about, and then just kind of create that media kit and start building those relationships with the decision makers. And just, kind of keep throwing it out there to try and just keep improving, I think are big things, but, be yourself, and kind of just grow from there.
Got it.
So Mitch, this has been, a really good conversation. I appreciated, you coming on your birthday to chat with us about all this. So, I think for those listening, there could be a few who are ready for that next step. Where is the best place for them to go connect with you, learn more about what you do, and learn from you, so they can, reach out?
GetInterviewedGuaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. GetInterviewedGuaranteed.com/meet with Mitch 3 times, because I know about 3 calls to action. GetInterviewedGuaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. If you desire to come to Las Vegas and get on television, guaranteed. Guaranteed is the operative word, guaranteed. Reach out, set up an appointment, let's chat. No pressure. I don't accept credit cards over the phone. Maybe I'll send you a link later, but we'll have a conversation. If this seems appealing to you and want the credentialing offered of being on network television in the Las Vegas market, the world's #1 entertainment city, then great, reach out. If not, I hope what I shared was valuable for your listeners, your viewers. Christopher, thank you for having me. And I look forward to next time.
Absolutely. So yeah, everyone, if this is what you're looking for, definitely reach out to Mitch, get that scheduled, have that conversation. If not, just continue to follow Mitch online so you can continue to learn and see what he's doing. But until next time, continue to go out there and continue to elevate your life, elevate your brand, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate Media Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. See you in the next episode.